Well, now we have Entitled, which you can see on your screens, the first joint biography of the Duke and Duchess of York based on 4 years of research, interviews and documents. Claims to reveal the truth behind their unusual relationship, their finances and the Duke's controversial connections. Well, I'm delighted now to be joined by the author of Entitled, The Rise and Fall of the House of York, Andrew Lani. Andrew, thank you very much for coming in. Your book's been serialised in the Daily Mail, so people may have seen the headlines. Just wanted to ask you about what made you want to write this book. What did you feel there was that needed to be told that people didn't know?
Well, it's the third of a trilogy of books on royal marriages. So I did one on the Mountbattens, one on the Duke of Windsor, and this one. And I think the question people kept asking was, what is the story of the happiest divorced couple ever? People are intrigued by a couple who actually only were married for a short time, but still 30 years later lived together. But clearly there was a strong story there with Andrew being in the news with Epstein. But the story that really interested me was, and stuff clearly had appeared in the papers, about the way that they, I believe, leveraged their royal status for private gain and the damage that that was doing to the monarchy.
Some might think the book is quite salacious. You've got quite a lot of sex and innuendo there. But you start very early on by talking about an affair of Prince Philip with Susan Barantes. What evidence do you have for that?
My mother-in-law, who was a friend of hers.
OK, but it's gossip, isn't it? Because
they were friends.
You've got another story at the end where you say on Prince Philip that Cabina Baudet-Wellman, whose mother was supposedly one of Prince Philip's lovers. What evidence have you got for that?
That's been reported in the press.
But this is my worry, that it's quite a gossipy book.
It's not a gossipy book. It's actually got about 30 pages of footnotes, if you look at them.
I looked at the footnotes. Yeah. I thought you might mention that, because when you look at the footnotes, what is it? It's the newspapers. It's the Times.
No, well, it's a series of interviews with people
as
well as
the Times, 21st December 2024. It's Omid Scobie, who supports one other part of the royal family.
I don't think this is very fair. I think if you look at it, you'll see
the Daily Mail. It's the Daily Telegraph.
Well, if you allow me to answer... If you look at the acknowledgements page, you'll see, if you allow me to speak...
I will.
If you look at the acknowledgements page...
But you just said something that is demonstrably not true in your footnotes. In your footnotes,
it's not true.
Again and again, it is newspaper reporting that you're quoting.
I'm not. If you look at the acknowledgements page, you will see that there are 3 pages of people that are interviewed.
Yes. So
can we look at the acknowledgements page?
Well, why don't we look at your footnotes?
Are you out here just to hijack the book?
No, I'm here to ask you about it and your sources and the accuracy. So Finding Sarah, Daily Mail, Daily Mail, Daily Mail, Daily Mail, New York Times, Daily Mail, Daily Telegraph, extracts which can be seen online. So, yes, you've got some interviews, but you say in the beginning you asked 3,000 people to be interviewed, of whom 300 agreed.
Yes.
So that's not very many.
I think you'll find that's pretty good for a royal book. You don't get 300 interviews for a royal book.
And what about this, talking of gossip? So you've got a story here on Prince Andrew getting an escort to Canary Wharf from Buckingham Palace. The comedian Katie Brand has a story from a friend.
Yeah.
Is that a good source? Is that a good historian source?
That's sometimes all we have.
But that's my point. You've got salacious gossip.
I don't think that's salacious gossip.
Starting with an unfounded allegation against Prince Philip.
Well, let me answer. It's not an unfounded allegation.
You've got no evidence for it.
I have.
Prove it.
Well,
have you got an affidavit saying this?
Well, you're not going to get affidavits saying these things in these sort of books.
Would you have written it when he was alive and could have sued you for libel?
Well, I wasn't writing the book when he was alive.
Would you have written it when he was alive and could have sued you for libel?
That's a ridiculous question.
It's a fundamental question.
No, it's not.
Because you're saying things that really sleazy allegations.
They're not sleazy allegations. Most of
this
book is about financial corruption in the royal family. That's what the book's about.
Well, it's about an awful lot more than that.
But if you actually read it...
I've read it.
Well, I'm a very quick reader in one day. You'll see that there's an awful lot there. It's about his role as special representative. People are on the record, diplomats, people in the Foreign Office, people in the Navy.
And on the diplomacy, you're fair, actually, because there are quite a lot of mixed views about his behaviour.
Yes, well,
you've also
it's
got...
not salacious.
Well, there's a lot of salacious stuff in it, including, as I say, about Prince Philip. But you've got this one. You really went for everything you could. One ambassador's wife was upset after the prince criticised the way she decorated the residence. Another chased him after he left without thanking her. Are these diplomats such complete wet wipes that they get so upset? Or were you just trying to use every interview, anonymous sources, to hack at...
They're not anonymous sources. I mean, a lot of these people were named. A lot of them clearly want to go off the record. I can't force them to go on the record. These were stories I was given when I interviewed them.
OK, mainly anonymous. Let me ask you one final thing.
Not mainly anonymous. I mean, many of them were named.
How much does a side of beef weigh?
Well, I agree that does seem slightly odd.
It's about 200 weight. Do you really think Sarah Ferguson had 200 weight of beef on her sideboard every night?
You're cherry-picking bits. You know, we all know from
the reviews...
We know from the reviews of your book that clearly a lot of things went wrong.
No, there were no errors in my book. People just didn't like it. Anyway, thank you very much, Andrew, for your hatchet job on His Royal Highness, as he still is, though he doesn't use it, the Duke of York.
Yeah,
and finally, some good news, some much better news.
It's another day in the endless soap opera that the British press insists on manufacturing around the royal family. And, surprise, surprise, Harry and Meghan's names are right there again, tucked into yet another so-called poll, designed to paint them in the worst light possible. This time, the headlines gleefully tell us that Prince Andrew remains the most unpopular royal in the UK, which is hardly shocking. But then, without even blinking, the press lumps in Harry and Meghan right behind him, as though the Duke and Duchess of Sussex have done anything remotely comparable to the disgrace that surrounds Andrew. Let's pause right there, because this is not journalism, folks. This is narrative shaping. This is deliberate perception management, and you know exactly who benefits from it. The same establishment and media machine that has been desperate to punish Harry and Meghan ever since they walked away from the gilded cage. The latest YouGov poll claims Andrew has an 87% negative rating. Frankly, I'd be shocked if it wasn't higher, considering the scandal that surrounds his associations and the fact that he has never truly answered the public's questions in a court of law. Yet, what's remarkable, or maybe disgusting is the better word, is how the poll then smoothly slides Harry and Meghan into the conversation as if leaving an institution for the sake of your mental health, autonomy and family is somehow on the same moral playing field as allegations tied to one of the most notorious criminal cases of our time. They want us to believe Harry has only 28% positivity and Meghan just 20%. And then they present that as though it's gospel truth, when in reality these numbers come from a poll of just over 2,000 people in a country of 67 million. Let that sink in. They've taken the opinions of a tiny fraction of the public, amplified it through every tabloid headline, and used it as proof that Harry and Meghan are unpopular. It's a tactic as old as propaganda itself. Repeat a line enough times and people start to believe it. But here's what they never want to acknowledge. Harry and Meghan's popularity depends entirely on who you ask and what you value. If you ask the readers of the Daily Mail's comment section, of course the numbers will skew negative. If you ask younger people around the world, people who live outside the bubble of royal deference, you'll get an entirely different picture. And even this very poll they're waving around admits that it says younger Britons view Harry and Meghan far more favourably than older generations. That alone tells you there's a generational and cultural shift happening. The future is not with the pearl-clutching traditionalists. It's with those who recognise that the royal family is just another institution that needs to adapt, be held accountable, and respect the humanity of its members. But you won't hear that in the coverage. No. Instead, they conveniently place William and Kate on their thrones of 74% and 71% approval, as though that means they are somehow morally superior. We all know the palace PR game. Keep the Cambridges spotless in the headlines, no matter what stories or rumours need to be buried to do so, and keep Harry and Meghan as the convenient scapegoats. If there's bad press, pin it on the Sussexes. If there's a poll to be spun, frame it so they look like villains. And let's talk about that damaging public dispute line about Centre Barley. The Charity Commission released a report, and the British press twisted it into another hit against Harry. They ignore context, they ignore the fact that the charity's impact remains strong, and they blow up one internal disagreement as if it cancels out years of work helping children affected by HIV and AIDS. Imagine working tirelessly for vulnerable communities, raising millions for causes that save lives, only to have a disagreement turned into your defining public moment by the very press that ignores the actual good you've done. That's the treatment Harry gets. And Meghan, too, whenever she dares launch a business, speak about women's rights, or even just appear in public without their permission. Meanwhile, they put Andrew's scandal in the same breath as Meghan's approval rating, pretending it's all just a numbers game. But let's be real. No matter what the polls say, the Sussexes are out there living life on their own terms, free from the toxic system that tried to destroy them. They're building their own platform, telling their own stories, and connecting with audiences globally. Audiences far bigger than the narrow slice of Britain YouGov likes to sample. And this whole framing about the monarchy being good for Britain? Of course, support is highest among over 65 SS. That's the generation raised to never question the system. But the younger generations are speaking louder now, and their message is clear. Loyalty to an institution should never come at the cost of truth or humanity. That's why Harry and Meghan resonate more with them. Not because they're perfect, but because they're real. They've shown vulnerability, they've admitted struggles, and they've put family above image. That is far more relatable than perfectly posed balcony appearances and tightly scripted smiles. And think about this. If the monarchy is supposedly so popular, why do they constantly need to use Harry and Meghan as clickbait? Why is it that William and Kate's stories can't seem to stand on their own without some comparison to the Sussexes? It's because the Sussexes are the story. Whether the press admits it or not, Harry and Meghan are the international draw. That's why every time they step onto a red carpet, launch a project, or even walk their dog, it's news. And it's why these polls, no matter how they're spun, will never change the fact that Harry and Meghan are relevant, influential, and here to stay. So when you see a poll like this, remember, it's not about numbers. It's about the narrative they're trying to sell you. And in that narrative, Harry and Meghan are always painted as the problem, because they're the proof that you can walk away from the institution and still thrive. That terrifies the monarchy's PR machine. Which brings me to this. If you're tired of seeing these lazy smear campaigns and you want to support voices that cut through the nonsense, this is your moment. Here on Royal Sussex Squad, we'll keep telling the truth about Harry, Meghan, and the games being played behind palace walls. We'll keep calling out the hypocrisy, the bias, and the blatant double standards. Prince Andrew trails behind Meghan Markle and Prince Harry as most unpopular royalite, marks the end of a difficult week for the King's disgraced brother. Prince Andrew remains the most unpopular royal in the country, trailing behind Prince Harry and Meghan Markle, with a staggering 87% of people holding a negative view of him. It marks the end of a difficult week for the King's disgraced brother, following the release of a new unofficial biography about the Duke of York. A fresh YouGov poll shows just 5% of respondents have a favourable opinion of Andrew, who remains 8th in line to the throne and retains his position as a Councillor of State, despite stepping back from royal duties over the Epstein scandal. Close behind him in unpopularity are Prince Harry and Meghan Markle, who left the UK 5 years ago. Just 28% of people have a positive view of the Duke of Sussex, with even fewer expressing support for the Duchess of Sussex, whose approval stands at just 20%. YouGov said the results are little different from its previous survey in May, although Meghan's figure remains the joint lowest on record. The week has also been a challenging one for Prince Harry after an official Charity Commission report criticised his involvement in a damaging public dispute with his former charity, Centre Ballet. The regulator found that Harry, along with the charity's former trustees and current chair, contributed to a public fallout that gravely damaged the organisation's standing and reputation. Prince William continues to top the royal popularity rankings, with 74% of Britons having a positive view of the heir to the throne. His wife, Princess Kate, is close behind on 71%, with Princess Anne also maintaining strong support at 70%. However, the poll points to concerns about younger generations' attitudes towards the monarchy. Just 36% of 18 to 24-year-olds believe the monarchy is good for the country. While 60% of Britons overall think the nation is better off with a monarchy, support drops significantly among younger groups. Among the over 65s, 81% support keeping the monarchy, a figure that falls to just 41% among 18-24-year-olds. King Charles is liked by just 30% of the youngest age group, compared to 77% of those over 65. While Harry and Meghan remain unpopular across all generations, younger Britons view them more favourably than older ones. Some 33% of 18-24-year-olds have a positive view of Harry, compared to just 17% of those over 65. Meghan is liked by 25% of the youngest cohort, but only 10% of the oldest. Despite the mixed views on individual royals, the public overall remains supportive of the institution. According to YouGov, 62% of Britons have a favourable opinion of the royal family, while 58% support the monarchy as an institution. That is roughly double the number who feel negatively, with 30% holding an unfavourable view of the family and 32% sceptical about the monarchy. The split continues when it comes to the future of the monarchy. Two-thirds of Britons, 65%, believe the country should retain a monarchy, while 23% would prefer an elected head of state. Support for the monarchy spans party lines, with 89% of Conservative voters, 76% of Reform UK voters, and clear majorities of Lib Dem, 67%, and Labour, 57% supporters backing its continuation. Only 39% of Green voters agree. Overall, 59% of the public say the monarchy is good for Britain, 54% believe the royal family offers good value for money, and 47% say they are proud of the institution. Just 17% say they feel embarrassed by it. A total of 2,292 adults in Great Britain were surveyed by YouGov between August 5th and 6th. So, Squad, make sure you're subscribed, hit that notification bell so you never miss an upload, and if you value the work we do here, drop a super thanks to help keep this channel going strong. Together, we'll keep shining a light on the truth, and no poll, no matter how skewed, will ever change that.